Get ready for more valuable financial insights from Northern California's premier retirement income planners, Dan Ahmad and Jim Files, owners of Peak Financial Freedom Group. For more information, go to peakfin.com. And now, here's Dan and Jim.
This is Dan Ahmad and Jim Files. You're joining the Peak Financial Freedom Hour. I'd like to welcome you all. And we have a lot of people that have listened to the show for years and years and years. And it could be current clients that continue to listen to learn more and more about their money and to validate and verify what they've done with their money is the correct thing. We have a ton of people that aren't clients that listen to just educate themselves and make sure that as they either have transitioned into retirement or getting ready to transition to retirement, they're going to be making or have made the right decisions so that everything doesn't blow up at some point in the future. Because what you don't want to do now is make any type of financial mistake. So just thank you very much for listening to us. You can go and get a lot of extra information, like on our website, www.peakfin.com. You can listen to our podcast there. We've recorded all the radio shows there. You can go to our YouTube channel, watch our TV shows, as well as a bunch of educational videos. You also can download information off our website. Our most recent Amazon best-selling book, which is Mama's Secret Recipe for Retirement Success, is free to download. It's a 500-page document that teaches you everything you need to know about your money. And we want to make sure everyone knows, if you're listening, we have people that will call us back and they'll say, yeah, I've been listening to your show for 5 years and I finally decided to call in. And we're like, what the heck took you so long? And we don't know, just something happened in their life where they decided they needed planning. But right now I can tell you, every single person listening, doesn't matter who you are, every single person listening needs a plan, because right now, none of you, unless you're our client, probably has an actual written plan. Every single thing about your money in writing, the risk, the fees, the income, how much tax you're going to pay, all the things, so you can now realize how should you invest your money to give yourself the best chance of success. So we want to make sure you can call us and request a free consultation to find out, can we help you and can we provide you a free written plan? You simply dial pound 250 pound 250 on your cell phone, hit send, and then you say the keyword money, and it'll take you to the operators and they'll talk to you and get you set up for your free evaluation. Well, Jim, why don't we start today with the financial wisdom, the quote of the week?
The quote of the week is a great quote because it's something we talk about on every single show that we do, every TV show that we do. If you come into our office, we'll talk about that as well. It comes from Warren Buffett. It says, never depend on a single income, make investments to create a second source. And that's the whole goal of our firm, is to making sure that our clients have enough income that will never run out, no matter how long they live. If they're married, no matter how long their spouse lives, they will never run out of income. And you got a number of choices. You can try to take money out of your account, which is stocks and bonds and mutual funds. And that can work theoretically, but there's no guarantee. It's not predictable. The markets aren't predictable. They go up and down. If you're lucky enough and you have a pension, that's wonderful. That's a guaranteed income stream, but most people don't have pensions nowadays. So what you have to do is you have to figure out, how do you put together another income stream that will never run out? And that's what we talked about, Dan. Every single show is, how do you develop a dependable, predictable, guaranteed income stream that will never vanish in retirement?
Well, what you just described is the solve. It fixes the problem of the single largest fear that every single retiree or person getting ready to retire has, and that is running out of money during their lifetimes, meaning running out of income before we die. And if we knew we're going to die when we're 87 and we ran out of money that day that we died, it wouldn't matter. Fine. Maybe we don't leave money to our beneficiaries, but at least our lifestyle didn't get changed. But the biggest fear we all have, and it doesn't matter whether you admit it out loud or not, it's deep down in your soul, is running out of income. And because of that, then we have multiple negative things happening because of that fear. The biggest thing that happens that's negative is people are afraid to take income out of their assets, because if you're afraid you're going to run out of income at some point in your life, how in the heck do you use your assets right now for income if you're afraid they're going to run out? It's like knowing your food's going to run out at the end of the month and you ate all your food by the second week. You're not going to do it. You're going to stretch it out. You're going to take a little bit out and you're going to work it that way. So that's one of the biggest problems of that fear, running out of income. And that's why we talk about so much guaranteed income strategies? How do we develop dependable, even guaranteed income strategies and give people significantly higher guaranteed lifetime payout rates than they can get pretty much out of any asset right now? So I think that's one of the key things, because think about it. If you're in retirement or getting ready to retire, your biggest fear is, how do I generate the income I'm going to need to live off my lifestyle and then make sure I don't run out? That's the whole planning goal. So we want to make sure that that happens.
Clients don't really understand the different levels of risk. You have risk in the market, right? If you put money in the stock market, it goes up and down, it goes up and down, it goes up and down. And you hope during retirement you can pull out a steady stream of income that won't run out. But that's not predictable. It's not dependable, and it's not guaranteed. But the biggest risk you have as a retired people is longevity risk. How long are you, and if you're married, how long are you and your spouse going to live? That's called longevity risk. And the only way to solve longevity risk is to make sure you have enough income that will last the rest of your life. The market, money coming off the market account isn't guaranteed. So you have to change gears. You have to figure out, okay, where do I go as a consumer in order to get a guaranteed income stream? How do I do that? Well, if you had a pension from an employer, well, you did it that way, but you likely don't have a pension from an employer if you're like most of our clients. So you have to secure a guaranteed income stream. And that's exactly what we show our clients how to do. How do you get a guaranteed income stream? And there are ways to do that. We do it every single day with our clients. Our clients are happy because they have a guaranteed income stream, Dan.
Well, and even if they have a pension, they might not have enough pension to provide the income they really need. And you can't just look at your pension and or Social Security, and we're going to talk about that later, as just fulfilling your needs and not fulfilling the wants. Because if you have enough fixed income coming in to take care of all your needs, fine. But what about the wants? What about the traveling? What if you want to take 3 big trips a year right now when you can, when you're young? What if you want to help the kids buy a house? What if you want to help the kids on a monthly basis? What if you want to help the grandkids? All these things, those might be your wants, but wants to us, they're just as important as the needs, because the wants are what then either makes our life happier or makes our life a little tougher. So when you look at creating income, most people literally will say, before we talk to them, do you have enough income right now? Yes, I have enough income. And we're like, okay, well, let's see what your budget is. And their budget might be the same or even higher than their income. And we're like, you don't have enough income. They're, yeah, I'm making it each month. And then we dive into it. We find out every single person wants more income. They're just afraid to take more income because they're afraid either their income's going to run out, they're afraid they're going to suffer a big loss, and that's going to make their assets run out, or they're afraid that they're going to pay too much tax when they're taking the income distributions. So all three of those things stop people from taking the income out, and you save the money to use it. So we have to put a plan together that will make sure the income will never run out. We have to make sure that you won't suffer a big loss, and we have to make sure that you're going to not be in a huge tax bracket when you retire. If we can do all those things, it will make everything very simple for you. Because what you want to look at is, if your budget's $10,000 a month, you don't want to create $8,000, $9,000, or $10,000 a month of guaranteed income, because at that point you're still short. Because what if the other income doesn't come in? You're going to worry. You want to create $10,000, $12,000, $15,000, $18,000 of total income coming in that you can count on. Because at that point, if your budget's $10,000, how's it going to feel knowing that you have $4,000 or $5,000 or $6,000 more coming in per month?
When you talk about these numbers, people, I think, get confused at times because they think to themselves, well, I only have X amount of dollars. How can I get excess income above what I'm getting right now?
Well, you can't if you keep doing it the way you're doing it right now.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You can't if you keep on doing it the way you're doing it right now. We have certain financial instruments that will pay you significantly more income on a guaranteed basis than you should take out of a managed account. The safe withdrawal rule right now, in other words, how much can you safely withdraw out of your portfolio assets and not run out of money? And they use what are called Monte Carlo mathematical simulation models. That all they do is take a big bucket, they throw in some cash, they throw in some stocks and bonds and commodities, they stir it up with their algorithms, and it spits out how much money can you legally, or how much money can you take out of your portfolio and not run out of money. And they only give you a 95% probability. There's still a 5% you're going to go broke. And that means you got to stay the course. You never get out of the market no matter how far it drops. And that today is 3%. So if you have $1 million, that's $30,000 a year. If you have $2 million, that's $60,000 a year. Well, what if you could get a guaranteed income stream?
The first question is, what is $30,000 a year on $1 million? What's $60,000 a year on $2 million? Or then we have $120,000 on $90,000 on $3 million. what the heck is that going to do to increase or enhance your lifestyle at all other than nothing?
It's not. It's not going to. But let's assume you're 65, 66, 67, 68 today. What if you could get double? What if you could possibly even get triple that amount of income on a guaranteed basis? And that's what you can do today. Rates are higher. These insurance companies are providing phenomenal distribution rates right now that you can lock in for the rest of your life. And that's how we build income plans to get you excess cash flow above what you need.
Right now, the problem is they just don't know they can do this.
No
one out there listening right now, unless they're our clients, know they can do this, that they can actually double or triple their income flow based on the same assets they have now. And if you now know, it's time to take some kind of action. At this point, since you know this is a possibility, doesn't mean you're going to do it, but you have to find out. You have to educate yourself on these types of options, because what would then getting a 7, 8, 9, or 10% payout guaranteed forever do for most people's lives right now?
It would change your life. It would change the way you think about retirement. It will lower your stress level. It'll allow you to do the things that you want to do. What you have to do is, as a consumer, as an investor, as a retired person, you have to decide, do you want to enhance your life, or do you want to leave your money to somebody else and struggle through life? If you want to enhance your life, we'll show you how to do that. I mean, not that we can't show you how to enhance your beneficiary life. We can do both, but we can enhance your life significantly by giving you enough income, enough excess cash flow above your budget on an after-tax basis to allow you to do everything you want to do in retirement.
You're back with Dan Allman and Jim Files, and you're listening to the Peak Financial Freedom Hour. Thanks for being with us. We've talked about so far just the reasons behind creating income that you don't have to worry about running out for as long as you live. And I know that sounds simple. It sounds like, yes, that's a basic idea we all understand, but how many of you are actually doing it? Hardly any.
No.
Hardly any of you have actually committed to creating a plan that will allow you to receive the highest level of income so you can live the lifestyle you want, that's guaranteed for as long as you live. Once you do that, it puts you in a whole new frame of just viewing what retirement can look like, and it'll make you so much more happier when it comes to living that. Well, let's look at a couple things that we have to cover, and we're going to get into later on in the radio show what we call going against the grain, making decisions that you think are opposite of what you should, that will prove that you should make those decisions. But right now, why don't we talk about Social Security? Because that's a big, big, big topic for people now. We can start with the Associated Press just came out less than a couple weeks ago with an article, and they stated specifically the new go broke date for Social Security is 2034. That doesn't mean go broke in their minds. Doesn't mean that's when there's no money left. It means we will have more money outflowing than inflowing, and we won't be able to continue that pace when it comes to Social Security. So at that point, things will have to happen. Either they'll have to significantly increase taxes on Social Security or income taxes, or they're going to have to decrease benefits. And decreasing benefits probably will be, in my mind, the way it will go. And if you look at what's going to happen in 2034, it's not that many years in the future, 9 years down the road. And they continue to put extra pressure with all these new laws being passed. They're putting extra pressure on Social Security, not relieving some of the pressure like they should be doing. So they're doing exactly opposite. All these new laws are doing exactly opposite of what they need to do to help save it a little longer. But if Social Security does go broke in 2034, which if the government says that, probably means it's going to go broke in 2030 or 2032, because they always, tell us better news, because then we don't freak out as much. But let's say 2034 is the date. Well, at that point, a lot of experts out there, Jim, think they might have to drop benefits by 25%. So if you and your spouse retire at 67, you both got Social Security, you're getting $80,000 a year. That means, what if your Social Security drops to $60,000? Does it affect your lifestyle? Probably. What if, like some people saying, they have to cut the benefits by 50%? Now the $80,000 goes down to $40,000. What if, like some other people are saying, what if they make it a needs-based system, which is what Social Security was created for in the first place? It was not created for everybody. It was for widows and orphans only.
Yep.
And it was only going to last about 5 years. Mm-hmm. Easy. If we only paid widows and orphans and only paid for 5 years, the system's completely fixed, but now it's paid to everybody. So what if they now say, guess what? Social Security was never designed for that. Social Security was designed to only pay for the people that needed it. And if you have enough assets on your own, you have pensions on your own, what if you get zero of the 80,000? How would those types of reductions affect someone's life?
It's kind of mind blowing when you look at those. You look at those, or kind of evaluate those comments. That what if, and the what ifs do happen someday. What you have to do is you have to decide, how do I shore up that problem? How do I solve that problem knowing that it could happen? If it doesn't happen, great, you just have more money. But if it does happen, and if you're not prepared right now to make sure that you're tackling this up front, you're going to have a different world to contend with. That is why we sit down with clients, and even more so regularly, because more and more people are listening to this news, and they're starting to get uncomfortable with the fact that Social Security could run out of money at different levels. So we're building plans to make sure that our clients have enough guaranteed lifetime income outside of Social Security to maintain their budget and inflation. And there's ways to do that. You just can't do it with the stock market, though, because the stock market is completely unpredictable. So not that we don't use the stock market in our planning design, we do. But we have to make sure that we have enough guaranteed lifetime income in the plan so that if Social Security does evaporate, our clients are going to be successful in retirement, Dan.
Is exactly right, because the only way to fix the problem of lost income that was supposedly guaranteed in the Social Security system, which might not be, is to then create a new income stream that is guaranteed for as long as you live to replace that. Otherwise, you're going to do without, or you have to cut back your lifestyle. Just things that we really don't want to have to think about. It just adds another worry. So you have to plan now, because that 9 years is going to go fast, and all of a sudden you are hit with a income reduction. So we got to make sure we plan. If we plan, we can make sure that income is replaced. Even if you're afraid Social Security is going to be gone completely, we can plan to make sure we can replace all that amount of money. So just comes with a little planning, not hard to do. And it really works for people that are savers. If you haven't saved money, then no. If you don't have any money saved, then there's nothing you're going to be able to do to increase your Social Security. Let's go to the second issue about Social Security, and that was when President Trump ran for election this time. One of his big promises was no tax on Social Security benefits. Well, then he introduced his big, beautiful bill, which I don't know where that kind of name came from, but big, beautiful bill. And there's so many things in it that are ugly. It's not a beautiful bill. And there's so many things in it that people don't even realize the people that voted for it. I don't know if you read a lot of articles and saw the interviews. So many people that voted for it didn't even know what the hell was in the bill. And it's like, what in the heck? So it was just crazy. But what happened was this big, beautiful bill said no tax on Social Security. Well, people don't realize that a lot of people in the United States were already not paying tax on the Social Security if they didn't make enough money. If you only had Social Security as your sole source of income, maybe a little bit of interest in the bank like a lot of retirees do, your Social Security is already tax-free because there are certain thresholds you have to hit. When we look at our clients, it's like 99.999% of them were paying tax on the maximum, which is 85% of the Social Security.
Right.
With this new law, the big, beautiful bill, all they did, if you're 65 or older and only on a temporary basis, this law does not stay in, so it might only be there for 4 years. 65 or older, they give you an extra $6,000 write-off. That's it. You get a next $6,000 write-off. So that doesn't mean your Social Security will be not taxed, because it has nothing to do with reducing the tax on Social Security. This is a deduction for income taxes. Yep. So it reduces your income taxes a little bit. Maybe you'll save $1,800 in taxes for the year. Okay. But Social Security still could be taxed. 85% of it still could be taxed. And for our clients, we did the calculations. None of our clients are going to have less tax on their Social Security.
No. And I read the average was $1,667 was going to be the average.
Oh, really? So that was close to what I said.
$1,800. Okay. Yeah. So it's not going to affect people that have money. It's going to affect people that don't have money.
You're back with Dan and Jim, the Peak Financial Freedom Hour. And so far, we talked about the need to create guaranteed lifetime income that won't run out. We talked about Social Security going broke, according to the Associated Press, in 2034. And we talked about how Social Security income is still going to be taxed to the majority of our clients because of the amount of income that they make. If you don't make any income, then you might be able to have a 0% tax on Social Security. But I'd much rather make $200,000 and pay tax on my Social Security than make $50,000 and not pay tax on my Social Security, because you'll have a lot more money to spend. So let's look at some things that we call going against the grain. And when we give advice, we're not worrying about what the populists out there say or what the popular notion is or what just seems simple. We will never say the same things to you that most other advisors do just because it's simple. We're going to find out what you need and then come up with a plan that provides you the best options for achieving your goals. A lot of times it'll be doing things differently. For instance, let's just take the simple one. What is the appropriate amount of risk for you to be taking as a retiree or pre-retiree? Every single person feels in their gut that they should be more conservative when they retire or as they're getting ready to retire. They just know it intuitively. So that's simple. The difficult part is then deciding, how do I now first calculate out how much risk I'm taking now? How do I calculate out how much risk I should be taking, I want to take? And then how in the heck do I reallocate, redesign, remodel our portfolio so that it now matches the amount of risk I should be taking right now?
Well, it's difficult. People don't look at it from that perspective, and they don't have the tools that we have in order to even calculate what your risk is. We can't even do it ourselves, right? And we're pretty smart people, so we have to use outside third-party research companies that collect this data. They go and they look at those prospectuses. They look at what the mutual funds have done in the past. They look at their good years. They look at the bad years. They look at the drawdowns, how much you could lose in a bad market. So we have all this data available. And so what we do is we take your statement, we break it apart by exactly what you own, whether it's a mutual fund, an ETF fund, whether it's a stock or a bond, it doesn't matter. And we run it through the research in order to determine how much risk you have. And we can tell you within a 95% accuracy how much you're actually going to lose in the next stock market downturn. If you see that, and most clients are shocked when they see it, is typically north of 35 to 40%, which means if the market goes down by 50%, like it's done twice in the last 25 years, during the tech bubble, 2001 and 2, and the financial crisis, 2007, 8, and 9, the data will show you you're going to lose 35, 40, 45%, depending on how you're positioned. And most people, Dan, when we tell them that, they say, well, we don't have that much risk because my broker said that I don't have that much risk. Well, if you have a balanced portfolio made up of 60% equity funds and 40% bond funds, you're going to lose about 38% of your money. So does 38% of your money seem like a lot? Well, if you have $1 million, that's $380,000. If you have $2 million, that's $760,000. It's a lot of money. And isn't it important for you to understand that?
It's 100% important. And I think the issue is no one knows right now how much risk they're really taking because a risk assessment has not been created for them and has not been given to them in writing. If you go and you ask your advisor or your 401k company, hey, how much risk am I taking right now? They'll say, oh, don't worry, you're moderate. And how much can I lose? Oh, you can't lose that much. And even if you do suffer loss, everything will be okay. The market always rebounds and comes back. So don't worry about it because you'll always in the market will come back historically. And that's true unless you're taking income out of it. The issue is this simple. What if, just pretend like we go through another 2001 and 2, or we go through another 2007, 8, 9, when the market goes down 50%. Whether you lose 30, 40, or 50%, which if you're in a diversified portfolio, you better be planned that that's going to happen. How can you now take income off of an asset that could lose 30, 40, or 50% without the fear of running out of money and pretty much without the high probability you run out of money? And the answer is you can't. You have to now get a plan created that's in writing that'll show preferably that you have no more than 5% risk on your portfolio, meaning even if the stock market crashes 50%, just like it did in 08, you're projected to lose 5% or less. Now, guess what? We can continue to take the income off of your portfolio, whether we suffer the 5% loss or not, because we can rebound from the 5% loss. Rebounding from a 30, 40, or 50% loss and taking income out at the same time, numerically, Jim, is almost impossible.
It's very, very difficult. And putting your money into an investment or investments to do that, we're not just sticking your money in the bank, right? We divide money into buckets. We're going to make sure that you have enough money in the bank, high yield savings, CDs, treasury bills, whatever it may need to be in order to be safe, secure, liquid. We're going to recommend you have money in the market if you're willing to take the risk, but we're going to gauge that according to how much income you need and how much of the portfolio needs to be guaranteed. So the second bucket can be that. The third bucket is the guaranteed bucket. We're going to make sure that you have enough money in the guaranteed bucket so that when the stock market goes down, you have a buffer between buckets 1 and bucket 3. Bucket 1 is cash. When the market goes down, you can't lose money. Bucket number 3 is the guaranteed product. When the market goes down, you can't lose money. So when you combine these 3 buckets, that's how we get your risk factor less than 10%, ideally between 3 and 5%, so that when the market does go down and you're in retirement and you're drawing income out, you don't panic. Everything's going to work fine. It's just when you have all your money in the market is where it creates a problem, Dan.
Well, and I think what people are thinking out there also is, I've been told that the whole time, and you have, from the time you're 20, 30, 40, even 50. Hey, the best rate of return possible is by being as aggressive as you possibly can talk yourself into being. And theoretically, historically, you would have gotten the highest potential rate of return, which is true. Doesn't mean it'll always work, but it's a great strategy as long as you have one thing behind you, one thing on your side, and that's time. Well, guess what? As you're retired or getting ready to retire, you no longer. You have zero time on your side to recover from large losses because we have to use those assets to create income. And if we have to use the assets to create income now, it means there's no time left for recovery. And you just have to accept that as a fact. No time left as recovery. And we have to now look at your assets differently than we did when you were 40 or 45. Because right now, your assets are meant to do one thing, to provide you the income you need to have the lifestyle you desired the entire time you were working. That's what will get you ahead. You're back with Dan Allman, Jim Files, the Peak Financial Freedom Hour. We're talking about a bunch of stuff today. First was making sure we create guaranteed high levels of income payouts so that you won't have to worry about running out of money. Second thing we talked about was Social Security and how Associated Press came out in 2000, just recently said in 2034, we hit the go broke date with Social Security. So you better have plans to replace that Social Security income. And the third was with the big tax bill that was passed, the big, beautiful bill. It was touted that there's no tax on Social Security. But as we did the research, we find out the tax on Social Security did not get affected in any way, shape, or form. There is a temporary extra deduction for people that are 65 or older, but you better plan on paying tax on your Social Security and not decrease the amount of your estimated taxes, your withholdings, to make sure you don't owe money at the end of the year. Well, right now, let's talk about the effects of creating income at a high level that will not run out for as long as you live, and look at what it really means. And let's look at a couple portfolios. Let's say a lot of people come in here right now, and the people that have saved what we consider the minimum to have a successful retirement right now ends up being about $1.5 million is what we find. We can make it work with $1 million in a lot of cases, but when they have 1.5, almost all the plans work, right?
All work.
Across the board. So let's say someone had $1.5 million of assets, which they always think, oh, I should have saved more. I should have double. I should have made better decisions. But let's say they have $60,000 of Social Security. And they're like, we don't know how much we can take off of our assets. If they go by the safe withdrawal rate you gave before, they can only take out $45,000.
Right.
What if we can put a plan together, which we can for this type of client, $60,000 of Social Security. We take $100,000 of income off their assets every year for as long as they live. They have $160,000 of gross income, and net of taxes, they would have a $10,000 net income after taxes. Probably more net now retired than when they were working, right? Across the board. How about if they had $2 million of assets? They have a little bit more. They're getting the same $60,000 of Social Security. What if we can create $140,000 of income from the assets? Now they have $200,000. How many people do you think at retirement can really imagine having $200,000 of gross income at retirement?
Not many.
They just don't see it, right? Well, then they're going to net about $13,000 a month after taxes. What if they have $3 million? I just met, I think you did too, last week with clients that had $3 million of total assets, no pensions, assume $60,000 of Social Security. We can create $190,000 of income from the assets. They now have $250,000 of gross income for as long as they live, and their net income would be $17,000 a month. My clients that I dealt with, their net income when they were working was $10,000 a month. Now they're going to have $17,000 a month. What does that do now to how they view retirement?
First of all, the way you view retirement is based on what you can see the numbers and actually understand them and comprehend them. And being able to view this in writing, detailed by income source, whether the income is guaranteed or not guaranteed, how long it will last, will change your life. It will change your life when you know you can put together a plan that's going to give you an income stream that is predictable and dependable, and it's going to last forever. And it's not just saying to yourself, hey, my broker said I could take 4% off and I'll never run out of money. Folks, that's not good enough. That is not good enough. You have to have a detailed plan, a comprehensive plan that shows you how much you can actually take off your portfolio in real income that's going to last forever, guaranteed income, so that when the markets do change, you can continue to take the cash flow. And the only way you're going to get that is to get that in writing by your advisor, a risk plan, a fee plan, an income plan, a tax plan, a legacy plan, when the income's going to be activated on each income source. Will the income go up? Will it go down? Is that income guaranteed? Is it not guaranteed? Will it last the rest of your life? What if your spouse lives longer than you? What if you both live past 100? How this is going to look in writing, and the advisor has to sign off on this. There has to be some effort put into this. You just can't hope that it's going to work out, Dan.
Well, I think let's make it simple. Right now, just think, do you know how much risk you're taking? Meaning, do you have in writing how much you could lose if the stock market has another major decline like it did in 2000 or 2008? And if people tell you that doesn't happen again, it's probably going to happen again, because since 1929, on average, every 5 years, the stock market goes down 39%. So right now, do you have in writing how much you could lose? And the answer is no for 99.99% of you. So now, knowing that there's risk and you don't have it in writing, how does that make you feel? It should make you feel anxious, and it shouldn't make you feel like you need to find out about how much risk you're taking. That's very simple. Second thing is, do you have in writing right now exactly how your income is going to flow to you for the next 30 years of retirement, and where each income is going to come from each year, so you know the total income that you're going to receive? Do you have that in writing to outline it so you don't have to worry about how you're going to replace your paychecks? And again, 99.99% of you don't have it. So if you know you can have that, you don't have it, how does that make you feel? It should make you feel a lot of anxiety and worry. Do you have a scenario? Do you have an analysis that shows, as you're taking money out each year from your assets, how much income tax you're going to pay and how much net income you're going to have? And do you have that in writing? The answer is, for 99.99% of you, no. Well, how do you feel not having that? It should make you feel more anxiety. You should want to fix it. Do you have anything right now in writing that shows how much you can potentially leave, if you want to your loved ones, your daughters, your sons, your grandkids, after you've used your assets for income? Do you have that in writing? And if you don't, then it should make you feel a little bit of anxiety. You want to fix it, and you want to get it in writing, because if you have those things, like you just said, Jim, that now fixes the amount of worry we have about our money.
It's amazing. All you have to do is dial pound 250 and say the keyword money, pound 250 and say the keyword money, and we will meet with us and we will show you how to do this. It's that simple. It's real simple. And I think people become complacent. People, so I'll get to this later on, but
they get busy.
They get busy. There's all kinds of good excuses.
They hate thinking about it.
But you need a plan. Just like if you have $1 million or more and you have a home, you should have a living trust, right? But this is more important than the living trust, because the living trust, that's after you're dead. You have to worry about when you're alive. You have to worry about, how do I make sure that I'll never run out of money? How do I make sure that I can have a successful retirement? How do I make sure that my wife and I, if I'm married, can do the things we want to do in retirement? How do I make sure that I can leave money to the grandkids and the kids? How do I make sure that I won't make a financial mistake? How do I make sure the income flow will be guaranteed to make my net after tax expenses every month? How do I make sure I can manage through inflation? How do I make sure I can be taken care of with long-term care? Those are the things you need in writing right now.
For more information about Peak Financial Freedom Group, or to schedule a consultation, just go to our website, peakfin.com. That's peakfin.com. And thanks for watching.